Good morning, everyone. Sorry we're a minute late. I had a little bit of a snafu with my slides, so thankfully we got it sorted out. I want to just say hello and good morning. I'm Brittany, obviously, and this is Tea with Brittany Lee. And we have today with us, we have Michael Hill and Lauren Schreckengoss. Schreckengoss, right? I always worry that I'm going to say it incorrectly, but I always manage to say it correctly, which is a miracle. Today we're going to be talking about useful tips on welcome home and discounts that you need to know. So this right here, this is a session where you are going to learn about the things that you can already use that are in your VRM platform already. So take some notes and just be aware that all of this is going to be on our blog tomorrow, www.virtualresortmanager.com/blog. And I'm going to have the recap up there with the full video replay. I'm going to have the slides up there for you to review. And Lauren has even provided me with the link to the help-based knowledge articles so that you can actually go back and learn how to do everything that she's going to talk to you about today. So just if you don't get everything down, don't panic. You're going to be fine. We're going to make sure that you get everything that you need. And as always, you can always email help@vrmgr.com, and our help team will be more than happy to walk you through whatever you need help with. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lauren. Go ahead, Lauren, and take it away.
All right. So thank you very much, Brittany, for having us on. We're very excited to be here. I want to start off by talking about Welcome Home and some of the facts and tips about it that you may or may not be aware of. One of the things I want to talk about is the light version of Welcome Home versus the complete version. Now, everybody who is a VRM customer does have the light version of Welcome Home automatically. So with that, you can communicate with your guests in a variety of different ways for different reasons. With the complete version, it's just kind of a step up with some enhancements. So for those of you all who are not familiar with the differences, I want to go ahead and start with that this morning. So with the light version of Welcome Home, you're able to send event email messages to your guest, as well as email messages for one-time use. With the event messages, you only have the category you can select of administrative, and with the one-time message, you have categories of administrative or emergency. And some of the differences you'll see between the light version and the complete version is that with Welcome Home Complete, you're able to send not only emails as event messages and one-time messages, but also text messages. And text messages just give you another way to communicate with your guests, and it may be something that's easier for them to receive because most people will have their phones with them and will check text messages over email messages. Another difference between the light and complete version is that with the complete version of Welcome Home, you have additional categories you can choose, whether you're sending out the event message or the one-time message. So with that, it gives you, again, a little bit more ways you can more tailor your messages to your guests. With the event messages, you have the categories of administrative, financial, and marketing. And with the one-time message, you have administrative as well as financial, marketing, and emergency. Another one of the differences that you'll see with the complete version, and this is a big difference, is that with the complete version, you're able to send your guests housekeeping-related messages. The messages that depend on whether or not a property is clean and ready for check-in. And that's something we found that our clients have really enjoyed using and have really benefited from. So with this feature, you can send a message to your guests letting them know when their property is clean and ready for check-in. This saves a lot of time and energy on check-in days for reservationists who are having to answer questions from guests. Hey, I'm here, going to check in early. Or hey, do you know my property's ready? Hey, has housekeeping been there yet? With this, you can just automatically set up a communication to go out to your guests so that they know when they're ready to check in. For some reason, if their property is not ready to be checked in at the normal check-in time, you can set up a message to go out to your guests at the normal check-in time to let them know that their property isn't quite ready yet and that you're still working to get everything taken care of to be sure everything is straight for them. And then when their property is ready, even if it's past the normal check-in time, you can set up a message at that point to go out to your guests again, alerting them that the property is ready now. Hey, I'm sorry it's taken us a little bit longer, but we wanted to be sure everything was in order. You can now check in. And then one of the other differences between the light version and the complete version of Welcome Home, with Welcome Home Complete, it actually ties into the guest extranet. So with that, it gives your guests the ability to sign into the guest extranet, and they can add additional people to their reservation as well as their contact information. So if you're traveling with your sister or your mother or your daughter or your son, and you all are coming from different locations, you can go in and actually add these people to the information for the reservation. And as communications are sent out through Welcome Home, these guests will also receive them. And that's kind of where the categories come in as far as how that's useful with Welcome Home Complete. When you add a different person to your reservation through the guest extranet, you're able to determine what categories of messages they will receive. So for instance, if you're sending out a message that's related more to the financial part of the reservation, thank you for a payment, or reminding them that a payment is due, you can select that message category to be financial, and then only the guests that have got that category assigned to them will receive the message. So it gives you a way to help figure out who's going to get the information that you're sending out, which we found to be very helpful. And then moving on, as far as the differences between the light and complete version, I want to talk a little bit about text messages. You've heard us mention that with the complete version of Welcome Home, you get the ability to send text messages. And for some people, they may not understand why that is such an advantage. Email is a great way to communicate with people, but we're finding that more people are able to receive text messages than emails and are more likely to open them. As a matter of fact, some of the research that we've done has turned out that text messages have a 98% open rate, whereas email messages only have a 22% open rate. So that's just something to keep in mind as you may be contemplating whether or not you want to upgrade from Welcome Home Light to Welcome Home Complete. And something else that we found out looking at messages, text messages compared to email messages, is the marketing legitimacy of the messages. Based on some of the information that we found, 99% of text messages are viewed as legitimate messages, whereas with email messages, only 73% of those are actually seen as legitimate emails. The rest of them are seen as spam, whether or not they actually are, but still, something just to keep in mind if you're wondering maybe why some of your email campaigns aren't producing the results you were hoping for. But whether you're using the light version or the complete version of Welcome Home, there's still a lot of ways you can utilize it when you're communicating with your guests. Ways that you can use the event messages in Welcome Home, and this is again whether you've got the light version or the complete version, is to remind your guests that they need to sign their vacation rental agreements. You can send them a communication letting them know whether or not linens are provided with their rental, and that's something we have found is very big in the rental industry. Some guests will make a reservation and will just assume linens are included with their reservation, where we know some properties do not include that service. So this is just a way you can check in with your guests so they're not surprised when they get there in the middle of the night and have no sheets or towels. Something else you can use Welcome Home for is to send out check-in or check-out instructions. If you have a specific office set up for some of your rentals, you can send directions out to your guests as well as check-in times. And if you have a guest that is arriving after your normal office hours, you can also include in there what to do when the guest gets there, if they need to use a lockbox to pick up their keys or if they need to go to another location. Another way that you can utilize Welcome Home is to send out a message to your guests, letting them know about the guest survey or asking them to write a review about their stay. This way you can just politely remind them about this and hopefully get a better response and a better rate with return as far as the guest surveys go. Another way you can use Welcome Home is with trash instructions. Depending on where you are, different towns have different pickup days for trash, depending on where the property is located. This way you can communicate that information to your guests so they know whether or not they need to roll the trash can out on Tuesday or Wednesday. And with some properties, there may not be a trash can that needs to be moved. And it's nice to let the guests know this too, so that they're not wondering the whole time while they're there if trash is going to be picked up or if they need to do something special to make sure that that is taken care of. If you have internet passwords that you want to share with your guests, you can do that through Welcome Home. In the middle of their stay, it's nice just to send out an email. Hey, we hope you're having a great vacation. Is there anything we can do to help you? Just check in on your guests. Let them know you haven't forgotten about them. If you have special events going on in the area, you can use Welcome Home to send out that information to your guests. You can also send out information regarding the weather. You can include links in your emails as far as click here for the weather update. And you can even use a link if you want to send them to like the town page to let them know of events going on or special festivals. If you have condo complex or neighborhood instructions that are specific to that location, you can send that information out, like gate codes or times that the gate is open so that they're sure to check in between those times, how to obtain a parking pass, just information like that that's probably communicated on your website that a guest may or may not have actually paid attention to while they were making their reservation. And then you can always send out information about special events, something that comes up last minute that you want to make your guests aware of, just so they can fully enjoy their vacation and what the area has to offer. In addition to using an event message in Welcome Home, you also have the ability to use one-time messages. And the difference between the event message and the one-time message is that event messages are tied to an actual event. So they're triggered when someone checks in or someone checks out or another event that you've set up when you created your message. So those are used basically multiple times automatically. With the one-time message, they're geared more towards something you need to communicate just once. So it's not something that would apply to all reservations or to all properties. It's something that you would want to send out to your guests to let them know specifically for that reason. With the one-time messages, we've actually upgraded that feature in Welcome Home. So now you have the ability to save one-time use messages as templates. This allows you to use the same type of message multiple times. And that we have found will save you all a lot of time as you're getting messages ready to send out to your guests. Some of the ways you might want to consider using one-time messages is to alert your guests if you're going to do a filter check or an HVAC check. Those are not things that necessarily happen with every reservation. So those aren't messages you would want to create to schedule to go out like 2 days after check-in or 3 days before check-in. It's a message that you would send out based on when you actually were going to go out to do the checks. Something else you can use the one-time message for are holiday hours. I know we've just come off the Christmas and New Year's Thanksgiving season, but that's something you can think of for next year because a lot of offices are closed during that time of the year or do have different hours. And for people who are wanting to come in late or early, that will help them know when you all are open. And it's also a huge help if you have long-term renters who are used to paying their rent on the 1st if your office is going to be closed. One-time use messages are also great for communicating weather emergencies. We've had a share of those this year between hurricane and snow and ice. So that's definitely something our rental companies have utilized and have found very helpful when trying to communicate with all of our guests at one time. Something else a one-time message can be used for is a special event, something that might come up last minute that you want to share with your guests, or deals that are going on in the area. You might know that the pizza place down the block is having a 2-for-1 special on Tuesday night of a specific week. You can send out a message letting your guests know that. That way they just have a better idea of what's going on around them and what they can take advantage of during their vacation. And then another way you can use the one-time use message that I'm not sure a lot of people have thought about is the travel insurance information. If for some reason you have had a weather emergency that's caused you to have to send your guest home early, a lot of guests immediately want to know, what do they do about travel insurance? How do they file their claim? How do they get their money back? You can set up a one-time use message as a template so you have all this information saved and you can pull it out and use it when you need it to let your guests know how they need to contact the insurance company to put in their claim for their reservation that they had to miss part of. So just something else to think about with the one-time use message. And all of these things that we've gone over are available whether you have the light version of Welcome Home or the complete version. But I do want to touch on a couple of things that are available in the complete version that aren't available in the light version. With the complete version of Welcome Home, I've mentioned this before, you can send out emails or text messages regarding the check-in status. So if a property is clean and ready for check-in, you can communicate that with your guests. And another way that you can use Welcome Home Complete is to direct them to the guest extranet through a message if you need to. And that just lets them know where there is additional information regarding what's going on in the area or any property specific instructions you want to share. All of that stuff can be set up through the guest extranet, and only guests who are staying in that particular property will have access to that information. And that might be something your guests aren't aware of. So with the complete version of Welcome Home, you can send them a message with their username and password and directions with how to access the guest extranet. And then moving on, we have added Welcome Home for long-term renters. And that's something we're very excited about. With the long-term version of Welcome Home and the messages that are available there, we have tailored specific messages to the annual renters. So these are things that you wouldn't necessarily need for your short-term renters, but would be very beneficial to your annual renters. And some of the message types that we've got created for that are, you can send out a message when a new lease is created, giving your guests the information about their stay and their property. You can also send out messages reminding them when a payment is due. And with that, you can set it up to send out when a rent payment is due or when a special charge payment is due. With this one, you can't send out a reminder if a late fee is due, and that's just based on the way the system is set up. But you do have a lot of flexibility regarding the information you can include in that message, even a table as far as special items and when they're due and the amounts for those. You can also set up in the system an email to go out when a late fee has been applied to the reservation. And this is something you'll be able to set up in the system to tell the system how many days past the day the rent is due will a late fee be applied, how much that late fee will be, and when it will automatically be applied to the reservation. So you can make all of that stuff in your system set up automatically so you won't have to worry about it. And the guest will be notified the late fee has been applied to the reservation. You can also set up an email to go out or a text message to your guests letting them know when a payment has been received, which is great for people who are trying to keep records but don't want to have all the paper trail to have to organize and file away. The email message is great for them to be able to save so that they can pull it up later to be sure they've taken care of what they need to regarding the financial aspects of the reservation. And another way that you can use the long-term part of Welcome Home is to let your guests know that their lease is almost up. And again, you can set this up to go out when you would like to based on the end date of the reservation that's currently in the system. And this gives your guests time to think about whether or not they want to renew their lease, and will give you a way to communicate with your guests that their lease is getting ready to end without having to go through each day and manually check and see whose lease is getting ready to be up and who needs to extend. So just something else to think about regarding Welcome Home. And then also with Welcome Home, we are excited about the different ways you can use it as far as marketing goes to send out information to your guests. And I know that this time of the year, a lot of people are starting to think about what they're going to do for this year, for this season, how the season is going to compare to last season, and things you can do to bring more attention to your rental properties and hopefully increase revenue. And with that, you can use Welcome Home for that. One of the ways you can do that is thinking about sending a communication out to your guests when they're staying with you this year in the middle of their stay, letting them know that they have the first right of refusal for the same week for next year. This way, while they're on vacation and they're having a fabulous time, they can go ahead and think about how they would like to have the same experience next year. And hopefully this will encourage them to go ahead and reserve the same week and the same property for the following year. And if you remind them of that, hopefully that'll get them into the reservation office to get that reservation taken care of. With Welcome Home, you can also send out communications regarding discounts you might want to offer for repeat guests. And you can set this up in our discount functionality portion and have a special code for repeat guests. You can include that code in the communication you send out through Welcome Home, and this will let the guests know, wow, they really value me. They're glad that I stayed with them, and they really want me to come back. And it might just be a 10% off or waiving the reservation fee or something like that, but just a little thing like that really goes a long way with your guests to make them feel important and to make them feel special. Something else you can do with the marketing is regarding festivals and events in the area. I know a lot of areas have annual events, and people come each year because of the event that's going on. The Seafood Festival in Morehead City is one that I think about for this. So if you're thinking about ways to get guests to come back during, as example, the seafood festival, you can go back and send out messages to guests who stayed with you during the same time period as the seafood festival last year, letting them know the seafood festival is coming up this year, telling them you enjoy them having them stay with you last year, and hoping that they'll come back again this year. And that way you can target specific people who may have come for a specific reason. And it may be that some of those guests had a fabulous time and just hadn't thought about rebooking or coming back again the following year. And this is a great way to remind them of that. Something else you could do, same ideas, people who have stayed with you for the holidays, the guests who rented with you over Christmas this year. You might want to send them an email or a text message just thanking them for sharing their holidays with you and saying, you know, I hope you come back again this year. We'd love to have you. Please consider us. And you can also run different specials and communicate that through Welcome Home, the different things that are going on that you want to make your guests aware of. If you decide to do a fall special, 3 nights for the price of 2, anything like that, you can send that information out to specific guests who have stayed with you, and that way you can communicate with them different marketing strategies you guys are working on. So with Welcome Home, as I've mentioned, we've added some enhancements along the way. We've added a way to save the templates for one-time messages, and we've added the long-term modules. With Welcome Home, we're constantly looking for ways we can improve it to make your job better and make your job easier. One of the things that we've got in the works right now for Welcome Home is the ability to save reoccurring messages. So if you want to send out a message, for example, on the second Tuesday of every month, you're going to be able to set that message up to be able to go out at that point in time. And this may be something that you can use for your filter check email. If you know you check the filters the second week of every month, you can have this message set up so that it automatically will go out to your guests. But that's just a sneak peek of something we've got coming up. Always keep your eyes open for improvements and enhancements for Welcome Home because we're constantly evolving this. And that is what I have to share with you today with Welcome Home. For more information, you can always visit our knowledge base. We have articles set up in there regarding how to use the different parts of Welcome Home, and we also have videos created that will help walk you through the different ways Welcome Home can be used. And as always, as Brittany's mentioned, you can contact our help desk if you need help with anything. You can reach us at help@vrmgr.com. Thanks. I look forward to hearing from you.
That's awesome. You did so good, Lauren. I wish I had like one of those applause sound effect things that I could just do like that. So bravo, congratulations. I did have a couple of questions come in while you were talking, so I figured we'd go ahead and address them now since Michael's going to move on and talk about something different. Kyle sent in a question, and she said, I have 2 questions. I don't want to forget, so I'm going to put them in here, and that's a great idea. So if you have questions while either Lauren or Michael are presenting, go ahead and pop them in the questions bar. I'll make sure that they get asked. Just indicate if it's for Lauren or if it's for Michael. Okay, so the first question she asked was, can the one-time messages be sent to homeowners as well?
Right now, Kyle, we do not have that functionality, but that is something we have on our list of improvements to add to Welcome Home going forward. And I don't know, Michael, if we have any kind of time frame on that right now, or if it's just something that is on our wish list. Do you know?
It's more than on our wish list, but I don't have a time frame. I would say it's right up there with the recurring messages that you're talking about.
Okay, excellent. So Kyle, look for that. Hopefully that'll be something we get to release in the next little bit.
Oh, right. And then the second question that we got was also from Kyle. And she said, if we're using the travel insurance info one-time message, will it only get sent to the folks that have purchased insurance, or will it go to all guests of a certain time period?
With that one, Kyle, that's a great question. You can set it up. It'll have to go to all guests in a certain time frame. But with that, you can always include in your message, if you purchase travel insurance, these are the instructions you would need to follow. And I don't know if, Michael, that might be something we can look to for a future enhancement as far as being able to select which guests have travel insurance. I'm not a programmer by any stretch of the imagination. So things to me that sound like they could be simple to do, I'm sure are extremely complex as far as adding in choices like that for messages.
No, and it's a great idea. We've talked about, and this is kind of on a wish list. We've talked about the ability or being able to, at some point in time, tie a one-time or even an event message to specifically target somebody with travel insurance or somebody with a specific guest charge or somebody with a pet fee or something like that. So that is certainly on our thinking. No exact time frame at this point.
Right. Thank you. We get another great question, Kyle. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, that was all the questions for Lauren for right now. Again, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and pop them into the questions bar in GoToWebinar Control Panel, and I'll be more than happy to make sure that your questions get answered. All right, so I guess, Michael, it's your turn. So Michael is going to talk to us about discounts, markup, and revenue management, and all sorts of other fancy stuff.
Yeah, so thank you, Brittany. I appreciate being here today and being able to share some of the things that we're doing at VRM with everyone. What I want to talk about today is an overall concept of yield management, also known as airline pricing in the slang, if you will. And VRM has two ways to deal with yield management. One is what we call revenue management, and the other is our enhanced discount markup functionality. When I'm consulting clients on how to do this or how to set up yield management, what to think about, the very first question I ask is, do I want the owner to see the discount? What I mean by that is, if you had to discount $100 in order to get the reservation, do you want the owner in his owner statement to see a line item that says discount of $100? If the answer is yes, then you want to use revenue management. And if the answer is no, then you want to use our enhanced discount markup functionality. When you use revenue management, you're working with charges, and what happens is the charges, anything that flows through the owner account will show up on the owner statement. So that's the main difference in revenue management and enhanced discount. Is revenue management uses charges such as negative amount guest charges, as well as negative add to rent adjustments. Those are the two types of charges that you can use with yield management. Versus the enhanced discount, where you're just setting up some rules to calculate a discount, which will then be applied to the reservation. The setup of the discounts versus the setup of yield management is also different. With regards to the enhanced discount functionality, there's lots of things that you've got to think about in your rule, but the setup is really two steps. One is you set up the discount and markup, and then the second is you apply that discount and or markup to the property, and then you rank it in the property. The ranking of the discounts is something that is new. It was released in our last release, where we added the ability to rank in what order you want these discounts to apply, so that if more than one apply because of applicable dates, then based on your ranking of those, only the first one will apply. So you don't end up actually paying the guest to stay at your unit. The yield management, however, is much more involved. You first have to configure the guest charge or the rent adjustment, and then apply that guest charge or rent adjustment to the appropriate properties. You then have to configure the rule in revenue management. Then you have to apply the charges that you want to use for this to the rule. And then you apply the rule to a web group. And then you go into the properties that belong to that web group and have the charge, and then you rate the rules again so that you can say which rule you want to apply if multiple rules might apply. And applying the rule to the web groups brings up the next difference, and I didn't want to say big, but it is kind of a big difference between the enhanced discount and the revenue management. When you are setting up a rule in revenue management or enhanced discounts / markups, you can set the rule based on occupancy. In revenue management, because it's in the web group, you can set that rule against either the group of properties or you can set it against the property itself and how it's doing within the time frame that you set up for occupancy. So again, you can either do it based on the property or you can do it based on that group of properties, which is certainly a great way to do the occupancy rule. In enhanced discounts, we only allow it at this time against the property itself. We are looking at a enhancement, an update, an upgrade that will allow us to do the same thing where you can select a group of properties to base your calculations on. That's not in there yet. It is coming. Finally, on the reservation itself, how do you see the yield management on your reservation? You'll see on that left-hand side the screen of your general tab of a reservation. And with this last update that we did for enhanced discounts, we've gone ahead and turned the label red where it says rental price. And the reason for that was so we could draw your attention to it. And if you mouse over that, then what you get is the calculated rental price that the guest sees on the confirmation. So that takes into account any discounts or markups. It takes into account any negative confirmation no-show guest charges. So when you set up a guest charge, you can set it up as a confirmation no-show. And when you do that, rather than show up in other charges, it shows up in the rent. And so when you're talking to a guest and you know that the guest is seeing one price, you can roll over that rental price there and know exactly what price it is that they're seeing. Also on that general screen, we introduced the owner markup field. And the difference between the markup field and the owner markup field is where the money is going to go. If I set up a normal markup of $100, that markup goes to the management company automatically. If I set up an owner markup of $100, then that owner markup of $100 will add to the rent and go to the owner account as part of the rental price. And again, that way you only see one item on the owner statement as rent. And of course, the management commission is based off of that net amount. On the other charges screen, if you used yield revenue management, then your charges will show up as they've always shown up in that right-hand side of applied charges, your guest charges or your rent adjustments. What we've added in this new release is the 3 boxes at the bottom that give you a historical account of applied discounts or markups to the reservation. Now that doesn't mean that if I overwrite, because you can overwrite the discount or the markups applied to a reservation manually, give them an extra $10, an extra $50, what have you, you'll know at least which automatic markups or discounts were applied, so that you can better understand, what's happened to this reservation and exactly what's happened with the price. So those are just some of the those are the differences between revenue management and enhanced discount markup functionality. When you're thinking about yield management and airline pricing, one, how do you want the owner to see it? And then two, with regard to that occupancy, do you want to do it against a group of properties or just to the single property? And make your decisions there. We are always welcome to, or we are always eager to help in talking about this, how you guys might want to do a discount or a markup, and what rules you can do anything from just lead time. Any reservation made 90 days out gets X number of a percentage off, or it could be if I'm, 10 days out and occupancy is less than X, I want to go ahead and give a discount. Or it can be based on days of week. Anybody checking in on a Thursday and checking out on a Sunday, they're going to get marked up. Or anybody checking out on different days, get a normal price for that. So lots of different ways, lots of different rules. The rules themselves in both cases are the same for the most part, with the exception of that occupancy. So that's all I really wanted to talk about with enhanced discounts and yield management. So I'll take any questions if there are any.
Awesome. Yes, if there are any questions, go ahead and toss them right into that questions box in the GoToWebinar control panel, and I'll make sure that you get them answered. And it was interesting yesterday when we were talking, Michael, Lauren, and I got together just to kind of go over what we were going to talk about today. And I asked Michael, can you apply those discounts the same way you can with the markup to different property groups? And so that got us talking, that got a discussion going. So, if you guys have stuff that you think, can the system do this? Sometimes the VRM system really can do a lot more than we give it credit for, because there are so many features and things. I know I've been here for 6.5 years now, and I'm still learning stuff about the VRM system, and I know Lauren feels the same way. She's under fire sometimes because she's got help desk that she helps on. Thankfully,
I've been here for 12 years, and I'm still learning things.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to ask us questions. We are more than happy to help. And if we don't know the answer, there is this thing called the knowledge base that we are really good at using. So we can always go search out an article to help you. So basically, announcing our next month's topic, we are going to have Michael Hill back, and he is going to be joined by Mike Mueller. So the Mikes are going to be on Tea with Brittany Lee next month, and they're going to be talking about the outstanding lead management tool that will make you profit. I promise this is not one that you want to miss. They are extremely excited to talk to you guys about the lead management tool, how you can use it to enhance your marketing strategies for 2017. I had a lot of rental managers tell me 2016 was horrible. We cannot have another season like that. So if you feel like that, do not think that you're alone. 2016 was rough for a lot of people. If you had a great year, go you. Awesome. But if you had a bad 2016, don't worry. We're here to help you. We want to make sure that 2017 is super successful. And just because this is Tea with Brittany Lee and I didn't actually get my tea this morning, which sometimes that's just kind of the morning that you have, I did want to just show you guys. I got this for Christmas. My husband knows me so well. He gave me this vanilla Pomodoro tea, and it is so fantastic. So if you happen to be anywhere near a Harris Teeter, make sure that you pick this up at Harris Teeter. It's so good. So that's my tea plug for the day. So since I didn't get to actually have my tea. It doesn't look like we had any more questions. I really appreciate everyone coming out. Yeah, go ahead, Michael. What you got?
Let me just give an update on the lead management tool and where we are in the process. We are actually done with the primary development, and we are in testing with it right now. I am actually going to be giving a sneak peek prior to this episode, looking to do it hopefully in the middle of next week or so, whether that be a blog or a screencast or a video. Not sure what shape that sneak peek will take, but I'm going to give a sneak peek out to everyone, showing some of the screens that are coming up with that, as well as kind of a major change that I think is going to be very exciting for everyone. So look for that. Look for that blog or message or sneak peek, if you will, next week. But again, we are done with primary development. We are in testing. It's going back and forth. We were hoping to go into beta next week, but it's probably looking like it's going to be a little bit longer than that, because we want to make sure it's done. It's right, even for our beta testers. So we're doing a lot of in-depth testing at this point in time, but we're excited that it's coming. Excited about the changes that are coming as well, and I think everyone else will be as well. Our clients are going to be. I don't know if amazed is the right word, but our clients, I think, are going to really like what's coming.
Okay, so I have to tell you guys, I know the secret and it's so good. You don't want to miss it. Seriously, it's so good. I'm super excited. And Michael put me on lockdown. He was like, "You're not allowed to share the secret in the webinar. Just let me do the announcement the way I need to do it." So, but have no fear. I will make sure that all of you guys get a marketing email. So make sure that you're there for that announcement. You are not going to want to miss it. Like, for real, the best thing since sliced bread, guys. For real. So, no kidding. So make sure that you look in your email box next week because we will be in touch. I think that was everything that we had for today. Thank you guys so much for making time to be here. If you did not get a chance to catch this webinar live, then we are going to have the recording. This is for the people that are on the recording, obviously, because y'all that are here are live. But this recording will be available on the blog, or if you just need to watch it again, then you can go and check it out on the blog. Like I said, these slides are going to be up there on the blog as well tomorrow. And we are going to have links to knowledge-based articles about the things that we talked about today so that you can go ahead and start using Welcome Home Lite because you already have it. So use it, use it, use it. It's so good. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thanks for having tea with me.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.